We must always remember at a critical juncture wherein we feel thorough sorrow and grief because of several reasons, whether it's because of the mind or body, because of the environment we are facing, or because of the oddities we are facing in the life's process, that our minds have unbelievable power over the bodies. This has been the philosophy taught from several branches of religions, mysticism, and several other things. Specifically, the Stoic philosophy has taught this, that we can win over many things of pain or pleasure, because the basic philosophy is neither power nor pain nor pleasure are everlasting. The basic truth, if we keep it in our mind and register in our mind and develop an outlook, develop a philosophical approach towards life, these things will can never touch deeply to us. Nothing could touch the innermost courage, the innermost struggle capacity, the innermost understanding of human life will give you the way to bear all these things. No longer there is no necessity of resist and struggle. We must accept the unavoidable. When we begin to let it go, to relax, the great reward was in the mind. It is felt that it did not much matter what happened to the body even for some time, because we know philosophically that even pain is not everlasting. In this context, to recollect a very great personality, David Grayson, Ray Steinbacher lay on his hospital bed in an agony of pain. The aftermath of serious operation, he knew the doctors were doing what they could do for them, but this pain, this endless torment, how long could a man endure it? Mr. Baker was a well-known journalist, biographer, and historian. He was also under the pen name David Grayson, the writer of delightful essays about nature and the outdoors. He wondered, as the pain relentlessly stayed with him hour after hour, whether he would ever be well enough to be either Baker or Grayson again, whether he would ever be well enough to resume his life and his life's work. He rang for the nurse and she gave him something to ease the pain. He dozed for a while. Most of the long night he lay awake, suffering intensely. But toward the morning, when he started thinking about a philosophy, when he started thinking about several ways of his reading, about meditation and several other techniques, and what is written philosophically by several great people with their heart was comforting him to read familiar words. In every pain, let this thought be present, that there is no dishonor in it, nor does it make the governing intelligence worse. Indeed, in the case of most pains, let this remark of Epicurus did aid thee, that pain is neither intolerable nor everlasting. If thou bearest in the mind that it has its limits, and if thou addest nothing to it in imagination, pain is either an evil to the body nor even a pleasure to the body or to the soul, but it is the power of the soul to maintain its own serenity and tranquility. The power of the soul and mind maintain its own serenity and tranquility, and not to think that pain is an evil. It will suffice thee to remember, as concerning pain, that the mind may, by stopping all manner of commerce and sympathy with the body, still retain his own tranquility. And he turned to several important forms of meditations and writings in the literature and the philosophical dictums, he found the whole doctrine of Marcus relating to misfortune and suffering was summed up in these few words: nothing happens to any man which he is not formed by nature to bear. I repeat these words: nothing happens to any man which he is not formed by nature to bear. In the morning, remembering that, he wrote one of the best books far away and long ago, while ill in the bed. Remembering that Stevenson wrote Treasure Island while suffering greatly from tuberculosis. Ray Baker was ashamed of his own weakness and submission. There must be a technique for meeting pain. Old told himself there must be a technique of endurance based on the power of the soul to maintain its own serenity. He decided that the thing to do was to go on with his work, even here in the hospital, to write again in spite of the pain. He rang for the nurse and asked for being some notebooks and pencils. Almost the first lines he wrote made him feel better, and discovering this, he continued to write most of the day, actually forgetting the pain for a long period of time. Did you think you could have the good without the evil? He wrote his notebook. Did you think you could have the joy without the sorrow? Joy will follow with the sorrow. Without fighting with the sorrow, without avoiding the sorrow, without throwing the sorrow out of the mind, you can never be joyous. You can never find the path of the joy. Has been thinking much about pain. How could help it? Sooner or later, regardless of the wit of man, have pain to face a reality, a final, unescapable, immutable fact of life. That night, when the torment seemed again unendurable, he told himself, this pain will not last. It never has. Instead, thought about what I am going to write tomorrow, not about my body. This is a great example. This great man's life, his experience, his tormentation, and his endurance, his idea of pain, the philosophy of pain he followed, gave him a lot of confidence and endurance capability to write again further, and made him to write beautiful books. He said, pain is neither intolerable nor everlasting. It is in the power of the soul to maintain its own serenity. So these things one should learn. Every human being has to learn and practice faithfully, and when increasing confidence for some time, no longer resisted the inevitable. When we cannot avoid an inevitable, we have to make our mind to be confident and strengthy to face the suffering. We do not know that the period of several tranquilities, we do not know the period of several things of pain in the soul and mind reduced since resistance seemed merely a prolonged. But great reward was the mind. The mind had its own ability to command itself in the face of such catastrophe, to preserve any equanimity, to rest securely upon reason when panic might so easily overwhelm. We will definitely have moments in the midst of such paroxysms during the earlier nights when people were no security in the mind, no tranquility. When security in the mind, when the mind is strong and soul is strengthy, the tranquility will definitely spread on his mind. Nothing could touch me. This is the feeling. These are the words expressed by many philosophers, many experts in meditation, many people who have brooded over the functioning of the mind and the pain, who have analyzed the genesis of pain and both pleasure, have pointed out nothing could touch me. That is the state of mind which every human has to aspire to reach it. Rest honored, Baker recovered and continued to write delightful books under the name David Grayson. Books about nature, friendship, happiness, and contentment. One of the he included his technique for enduring pain, from which the above paragraphs are quoted. Written in a hospital bed to meet the challenge of his own great suffering, Baker's words have helped countless number of individuals through illness and pain, inspiring them with stoicism, which goes back nearly 2000 years to the philosophy of Marcus. Nothing happens to any man which he is not formed by nature to bear. I repeat these words. Nothing happens to any man which he is not formed by nature to bear. Many others, great philosophers, have expressed this comforting philosophy in many different ways, some more poetically, perhaps, but few more effectively. For by interpreting it in terms of their own experience, by showing how to be help the mind, our own need to exceed the pain, to surpass the insurmountable. Ray Tanner Baker has made it timely and pertinent. He has brought the Stoic philosophy of great nature and great confidence embedded to the mind and the soul to avoid suffering and pain or misfortunate today. Let us bear with the magnanimity whatever it is needed for us to bear. Courage conquers all things, it even gives strength to the body. The powers of the soul are commensurate with its needs. Be steadfast as a tower that doth not bend, its stately summit to the tempest shock. For those who will fight bravely and not yield, there is triumphant victory over all the dark things of life. The dark things of life can never touch your soul, touch your mind everlasting, because nothing is everlasting in the nature. Whenever evil befalls us, we ought to ask ourselves, after the first suffering, how we can turn it into good. So, shall we take occasion from one bitter root to raise perhaps many flowers? This shall be the philosophy of a human being, whether to counter the pain or to keep your soul and mind not touching by any sort of these things, and keeping your mind and soul above all these inevitable and unavoidable sufferings which will not happen not only to us but to everybody in this universe who are playing their lives game. The only art which inculcates our mind to come out of this suffering is preparing the mind and elevating the soul to that level that we can reach a state of philosophy where nothing could touch our innermost courage and our innermost strength of the soul. Thank you very much.